Hello, everybody. I am Keaton. This is Kid Catholic Season 7, Episode 7, and I'm very excited for today's episode. For today's episode, I will be talking to you guys about Halloween, the origins of Halloween, because Halloween is coming up in just 2 days, and I love Halloween. Halloween is always fun to dress up and go trick or treating and get candy. When I'm an adult, I will go trick or treating even then, because candy is priority on Halloween. It's awesome. And so I love the time of year of Halloween, but a lot of times there's a misconception that Catholics or Christians that we don't want to celebrate Halloween, that we think Halloween is evil, or that we're not allowed to celebrate Halloween, and this actually isn't true at all. In fact, the holiday of Halloween in and of itself has very Catholic origins. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you guys mainly about today is the Catholic Christian origins of Halloween, because it's actually really cool. And so let's start off with the date of Halloween, right? So All Saints' Day is how it started. All Saints' Day was on May 13th until Pope Gregory the Fourth moved it to November 1st. All right, so Pope Gregory moved it, and that is the day where we are to celebrate the saints. All right, this All Saints' Day still to this day is after Halloween. It's a holy day of obligation. It's a very important holy day of obligation, meaning we are obliged to go to Mass on that day. It's celebrating the saints in heaven. All right, and then in the 10th century, Saint Odilo came up with All Souls Day. So not only celebrating the people who are named a saint by the Catholic Church, but all souls in heaven and all souls in purgatory. And All Saints Day is also all souls in heaven, because even if you're in heaven and you're not named a saint by the Catholic Church on earth, you're still a saint. So Saint Odilo came up with All Souls Day. Now All Souls Day is still again celebrated to this day after All Saints Day on November 2nd. It's not obligatory to go to Mass on that day, yet it's still very important to, and we still should, because it's important. It's very, very important to pray for the souls in purgatory, because they need our prayers, and it's very important that we get them to heaven, because they can't get to heaven from purgatory. They can't get to heaven without our prayers. And even though they will get to heaven because they are in purgatory, and purgatory is like an unpleasant shower on the way to heaven, right? It is still important that we pray for them on All Souls Day. So it's important that we go to Mass on that day. Just because it's not obligatory doesn't mean that we shouldn't go to Mass. And so they had All Saints Day and All Souls Day, November 1st and November 2nd. And then, a long time ago, some Irish peasants started wondering about the souls in hell. And it wasn't like they wanted to have a day commemorating them, right? We don't have a day commemorating them. That is not at all. Absolutely not. What they were afraid is they thought that if the souls in hell thought that they were forgotten, then they'd cause trouble on All Saints' Day. And so they started a tradition of the day before All Saints' Day, banging pots and pans together to tell the souls in hell to stay down there. They're not forgotten and not to cause trouble. So that's kind of how that tradition started. But obviously, it's not like the church or the clergy was going to start a Souls in Hell Day, right? Absolutely not. We should not be praying for them. We should not. Absolutely not, right? That wasn't going to happen. They just wanted to make sure that the souls in hell didn't cause trouble, because they were paranoid with that at the time. And so also All Saints Day and All Souls Day continue to be celebrated, and the Vigil Mass the day before was called All Hallows Even, is what it was called at the time, that Mass, or Halloween for short. You see how that gets there. And so there are a couple more traditions that I want to talk about how they came to be, and that's dressing up and trick-or-treating. So first off, dressing up comes from the French. All right, comes from the French in the 14th and 15th centuries, and really around then, plagues were breaking out, illnesses were breaking out in France, right? And so All Souls Day became a much bigger deal in France, and they had more and more masses said for it. And on All Souls Day, they had artistic representations to remind themselves of their morality and how they are to die someday. And so they would have paintings and eventually costumes to remind themselves, this is what we are going to look like one day we will die. And that took place on All Souls Day. And so the French would dress up on All Souls Day, and the Irish would remember or bang pots and pans on All Hallows Even, the day before All Saints Day. And so how it got moved from All Souls Day to the day before on October 31st, how dressing up got moves. It's not exactly clear, but it probably happened when Europe came to conquer North America. All the traditions kind of got blended together. And another tradition that I want to talk about is trick-or-treating, and this comes from the English. So during this time, when the tradition of trick-or-treating came to be, it was when Catholics had little to no rights in England. right? And so Catholics were like really oppressed, and so Catholics, some Catholics, obviously not the every Catholic in England, but some Catholics came up with a terrible plan. It was a horrendous, unmoral plan that they should not have done, and they wanted to essentially assassinate a Protestant King James the First. They wanted to assassinate him, and they came up with a plan God called the Gunpowder Plot. All right. Now they got caught and they didn't go through with it. Thank goodness, because that was not right of them to do at all. But the English would commemorate that day on November 5th every year of the day King James the First survived and the day the Catholics didn't get what they want. And so on November 5th, some people in England would show up in the middle of the night at a Catholic's house wearing a mask and banging on the door demanding for beer or cake because of what the Catholics did. They were like, the Catholics, you tried to murder King James the First. I'm going to come and demand beer or cake from you. Trick or treat. I haven't done that in forever. It all like comes back to that. And so they did that on November 5th. So they demanded those treats on November 5th, right? They dressed up on All Souls Day, and then they would remember the souls in hell on All Hallows Even, or Halloween, the day before All Saints Day. And so that all really got blended together when they came to America. And when people came to America, King James the First, and they had kind of forgot about it. They didn't, the trick-or-treating thing wasn't really happening anymore. It had kind of been forgotten. But the Americans had fun with it, and they decided it's too fun to throw away. So they started just asking for candy on that day, and it got moved to the day where we would dress up. And All Souls Day got moved to October 31st. And how that happened is really unclear. It's just when Europe came to America, all the traditions kind of got blended together, and it makes Halloween what we have now. And then it started to spread to people who aren't Christian celebrating those traditions. And eventually in America, it really began in the early 19th century when it just kind of blew up. And all those traditions from those different places in Europe came together. And it wasn't just a Christian thing anymore. Everybody was celebrating it. And Halloween came to be how we have it now. So that's like, it's really cool to go back and look on the traditions, like how trick-or-treating came to be, how dressing up came to be, how remembering how the dead came to be involved in Halloween, which is it's cool to think about how all of that got blended together. And so next time, like, anybody thinks that Christians aren't allowed to celebrate Halloween, then just talk about the Christian origins that go along with All Hallows Eve, because it's very, very, very Christian. It has a lot of Christian origins, as I just explained to you. Now, does this mean that everything in Halloween is okay? No, there are some stuff that might be like iffy that we don't want to do. So like when going out and trick-or-treating, when dressing up, when picking a costume, we want to be careful, right? Because there's a difference between celebrating this and going like too far, going beyond the line, where we're dressing up as a demon or a witch or something. That's when it goes like kind of too far. But overall, we can still celebrate Halloween and still have a lot of fun with it, as long as we are careful, like when it comes to decorations and when it comes to dressing up, and don't take it too far. As long as we're aware of that, and we're aware that we can't take it too far, then we can easily have fun and celebrate Halloween like I do. I love celebrating Halloween. Halloween is such an awesome holiday, and it's even more awesome when you know the origins behind it, like when you know why you're doing what you are doing. And so yeah, those are just some of the origins of Halloween. And to review, because of Halloween's very Christian origins, we are allowed to celebrate it. It is perfectly fine for us to celebrate it, as long as we don't go too far, and as long as we know that the real event that we should be like even more excited for is All Saints Day and All Souls Day, coming up this Friday and Saturday on November 2nd and on November 1st and November 2nd. So, thank you guys so much for watching the topic. Now that the topic is done, do y'all know what it's time for now? It's time for
the Saint of the Week!
And today's Saint of the Week is, of course, Saint Odilo. He is the one who instituted All Souls Day. He is the one who came up with it around the 10th century. So what a perfect saint to do for this week's topic. Now, Saint Odilo is not a very well-known saint, but he is an incredible one. He knew from a young age that he wanted to be a monk. He was ordained a monk, and then later an abbot. And his story is again, I know I just said that, but his story is incredible. He's an incredible saint that we can all look through. So he became an abbot, and then even gave up some of his own treasures and some church treasures to afford food and shelter for the poor during a famine in the year 1008. That's really weird. Like, how do you say that? Like, you would say 1208. Do you say 1008? Do you say 1008? Like, I was trying to think of how to say it. Um, anyway, he's an absolutely incredible saint. He gave up that. Of course, he instituted All Souls Day. He had a very big devotion to the Annunciation and to Mary. He really, really had a huge devotion to Mary, and anybody who knew him knew of that. He would experience levitation and ecstasies. Which is absolutely incredible, right? An absolutely incredible miracle that when you're so full of Christ, you would experience that. And then, of course, he had a devotion to all the faithful departed, those in purgatory and those in heaven. And so he instituted All Souls Day because it's important to commemorate the saints, of course. The saints are incredibly important. They achieve the ultimate goal that we are all trying to achieve. But it's also important to commemorate the souls in purgatory and to pray for them so that they may get to heaven. Because even though they're still in purgatory, they will get to heaven. If you're in purgatory, you're going to heaven. Purgatory is not a place of judgment. It is a place of cleaning off before heaven, except it's a very unpleasant one. And so they are going through temporary suffering. They are going through a lot, and the only way they can move on from that quicker is by our prayers. So it's very important to commemorate them, and Saint Odilo knew that for a fact. So because he's not a very well known saint, not a lot is known about him, other than when he was going on a missionary trip. He then died peacefully on that trip due to illness. But it is known that obviously he was very kind. He experienced ecstasies. He instituted All Souls Day, and for those reasons alone, it just shows how what an incredible saint he was. So anytime we are praying for the souls in purgatory, anytime we're having a hard time remembering the souls, or anytime we feel like we might think that those souls in purgatory are being forgotten, we can pray through Saint Odilo for help. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was Kid Catholic Season 7, Episode 7. Please like the video. Please click the red subscribe button down below and the bell next to it. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. Please go to my Amazon storefront, amazon.com/shop/kidcatholic. On there, if you use my link via there, because I get a lot of questions like how can I help support your channel, if you use my link and not only buy something on my storefront but buy something just via my link in general, then I get some of the commission from it. So if you want to help me, if you want to help support my channel, support my ministry, that is a great way to do it. Please visit my website, kidcatholic.com. You can find all my videos on there. You can read about me. You can check out the photo gallery. I have a talk that I gave up there. There's so many cool things that you can do on there. You can buy your very own Kid Catholic t-shirt. If you want me to come speak to your school or parish, please email me or contact me via my website because I would be happy to do that. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, how can I forget? Please check out all three of my social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The link to all three of those will be in the description down below. This was Kid Catholic Season 7, Episode 7. I will see y'all next week, and hi, Brielle!